Word spread through Kepler Station like wildfire. The terrifying apex predator that had sent security teams scrambling was actually a doctor, not just any doctor, but one who specialized in treating animals. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. They'd been afraid of a being whose life was dedicated to healing. Dr. Sarah Chen, as they eventually learned the humans' name had been surprisingly patient with their fumbling attempts at communication. Using her tablet, which had survived the crash, she'd managed to show them images and videos that revolutionized their understanding of human civilization. "Look at this," Dr. Kellen said, his voice filled with awe as he studied the tablet's contents. "Their medical technology is incredibly advanced, but in completely different ways than ours." The images showed human doctors performing surgeries that would be impossible for most galactic species. The precision required, the steady hands, the ability to work in tiny spaces. It was exactly what you'd expect from an apex predator species that had evolved to hunt. But they were using those same deadly skills to save lives. "Their entire approach to medicine is fascinating," Zixara observed, watching a video of Sarah performing surgery on something called a horse. "They don't rely on energy fields or biomanipulation like we do. They use their natural dexterity and incredible focus." Sarah seemed pleased by their interest in her work. Despite still being in recovery, she'd insisted on showing them more about veterinary medicine. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and even the station's security chief had started asking questions about how humans treated their animals. The breakthrough in communication came when Dr. Kellen managed to establish a basic translation protocol using Sarah's tablet and the station's computers. The first translated conversation would go down in galactic history. "Hello," came the synthesized voice from Sarah's tablet. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen, veterinarian from Earth. Thank you for saving my life." The simple words sent a thrill through everyone present. After days of gestures and guesswork, they could finally talk. "We're honored to meet you, Dr. Chen," Zixara replied, her words being converted into English and displayed on Sarah's screen. "I must apologize for our initial reaction. We were frightened." Sarah's laugh, a sound they'd learned indicated amusement rather than aggression, filled the medical bay. "I understand completely. I probably would have reacted the same way. In my experience, when you encounter an unknown species, it's best to assume they might be dangerous until proven otherwise." "Your experience with unknown species?" Dr. Mordak asked, intrigued. "Well, not alien species," Sarah admitted. "But on Earth, I work with animals from all over the planet. Many of them could easily kill me if they wanted to. The key is understanding that most aggressive behavior comes from fear or pain, not malice." This perspective was revolutionary to the galactic medical community. Most species avoided potentially dangerous encounters entirely, using drones and remote procedures whenever possible. The idea of deliberately getting close to dangerous creatures to help them was uniquely human. "You mentioned that you work with many different species on your planet," Zixara said. "Could you tell us more about that?" Sarah's eyes lit up with the passion that all dedicated professionals shared when discussing their work. "Earth has incredible biodiversity. I work primarily with large mammals, creatures like horses, cattle, and big cats in zoos. But I've also treated everything from tiny songbirds to massive elephants." She showed them images of Earth's wildlife, and the medical team was astounded. One planet with such an incredible variety of life forms was almost unheard of in the galaxy. "This elephant," Dr. Kellen said, staring at an image of Sarah treating a massive gray creature. "It's enormous, easily capable of crushing you. Yet you're standing right next to it." "Elephants are generally very gentle," Sarah explained. "They're incredibly intelligent and emotional. When they're in pain, they understand that you're trying to help them. The key is approaching them calmly and letting them know you're not a threat. The same way you approached us," Zixara realized. "Exactly. Whether it's a scared horse or a frightened alien medical team, the principles are the same. Move slowly, project calm energy, and give them space to feel safe." The irony was profound. While the galaxy's finest medical professionals had been paralyzed by fear, Sarah had treated them exactly like any other frightened animals in need of care. She'd used her veterinary training to handle first contact with an alien species. "Tell us about your ship," Commander Hulkton requested. "What brought you so far from Earth?" Sarah's expression grew sad. "I was part of a humanitarian mission. There was a colony ship full of refugees. Not humans, actually. They were called the Kethani. Their world had been destroyed in some kind of natural disaster. The name meant nothing to the galactic databases, but Sarah's tablet contained detailed records of her mission. The Kethani are a peaceful species, mostly herbivorous. Their technology was damaged during their evacuation, and many of their livestock were sick. My government sent me to help. Apparently, taking care of alien animals isn't too different from treating Earth animals. What happened to them? Zixara asked gently. Pirates, Sarah said simply. We were attacked 3 systems back. The Kethani ship was destroyed. I was in my medical shuttle when it happened, treating some of their breeding stock. My ship was damaged in the attack, but I managed to escape. The medical team exchanged glances. Pirate attacks in this sector weren't uncommon, but the casual way Sarah described the loss of an entire ship full of refugees was heartbreaking. I'm sorry for your loss, Zixara said. Thank you. The Kethani were good people. Their animals were beautiful. Something like a cross between your largest herbivores and Earth's deer. Very intelligent, very social. Sarah's voice carried the weight of professional and personal loss. You risked your life to help a species you'd never encountered before, Dr. Morduck observed. That's what doctors do, Sarah said simply. Doesn't matter if the patient has fur, scales, tentacles, or something I've never seen before. If they're suffering, you help them. This philosophy was starting to resonate with the medical team. They'd spent their careers treating only their own species or close galactic neighbors. The idea of providing medical care to completely unknown life forms was both terrifying and inspiring. Dr. Chen, Zixara said carefully, would you be willing to share some of your knowledge with us? Your approach to treating unknown species could revolutionize galactic medicine. Sarah's smile was radiant. I'd be honored, but I have one condition. Name it. When my ship is repaired, I want to continue the mission. There might be other Kethani survivors out there, and their animals will need care. I could use some help from people who understand alien biology. The request sparked immediate discussion among the medical team. A joint mission with a human doctor? The medical discoveries alone would be invaluable. And Sarah's approach to handling dangerous or unknown species could save countless lives. We'll need approval from the medical corps, Zixara said. But I think I can safely say you'll have all the help you need. As if summoned by their conversation, an alert chimed on the station's communication system. Commander Hulkton's expression grew troubled as he read the incoming message. Dr. Chen, he said slowly, we're receiving a distress signal. There's been an incident at a mining colony 2 systems over, something about dangerous creatures that have killed several colonists. The local authorities are requesting immediate assistance. Sarah was already reaching for her medical kit, despite still being in recovery. Dangerous creatures attacking colonists? That sounds like animals driven to aggression by fear or illness. We should go, we? Dr. Morduck asked. You said you wanted to learn my methods, Sarah pointed out. Here's your chance. But I warn you, if these are frightened animals, getting close enough to help them is going to require courage. Zixara felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with terror. She was about to embark on the most dangerous medical mission of her career, guided by a human veterinarian who treated apex predators like frightened pets. What could possibly go wrong? The creature watched Zixara with those unnervingly focused eyes as she slowly reached for her medical scanner. Every movement was deliberate, telegraphed, giving the being time to react if it felt threatened. The scanner beeped softly as it analyzed the creature's vital signs, and what it revealed made Zixara's heart skip. The being was dying. Internal bleeding, multiple fractures, and what appeared to be some form of infection were ravaging its system. How it had remained conscious, let alone alert enough to defend itself, was beyond her understanding. Most species would have been in shock or unconscious by now. Incredible, she breathed, forgetting for a moment where she was. The creature tilted its head at the sound, and made those same questioning noises again. There was definitely intelligence there. Zixara was certain of it. The being was trying to understand her just as much as she was trying to understand it. Doctor, your vital signs are spiking, came Dr. Kellen's worried voice through her comm. We strongly recommend immediate withdrawal. But Zixara was transfixed. She'd spent her entire career studying alien biology, and this creature was unlike anything in the databases. Its bone density was incredible, its muscle structure spoke of tremendous strength, and its neural activity was off the charts. Yet here it sat, calmly allowing her to scan it. The creature made a new sound, longer, more complex. It pointed at itself with one of its uninjured appendages, then repeated the sound. Then it pointed at her and made a questioning noise. It's telling me its name, Zixara realized with excitement, and asking for mine. She placed her hand on her chest. Zixara, she said clearly. The creature attempted to repeat it, though its vocal cords clearly weren't designed for her language. The result was a mangled approximation that might have been amusing under other circumstances. But the fact that it tried at all proved what Zixara had suspected. This was no mindless predator. The being pointed at itself again and made that same complex sound. Zixara tried to repeat it but failed just as badly as the creature had with her name. However, one part of the sound was simpler, more basic. It sounded almost like human. Human? She attempted. The creature's face changed in a way that Zixara would later learn was called a smile. It nodded, a gesture that apparently meant agreement among its species, and repeated human more clearly. Doctor. Dr. Mordak's voice was urgent now. The creature's blood pressure is dropping. Whatever you're doing, it needs medical attention immediately. Zixara looked at her scanner readings and felt a chill. The human was going into shock. All this time it had been fighting to stay conscious, to stay alert in what it perceived as a threatening situation. The effort was killing it. She slowly reached for her medical kit, moving as non-threateningly as possible. The human watched but didn't interfere as she withdrew a basic analgesic injector. She showed it to the creature, then pointed at its injured arm. The human looked at the injector for a long moment, then extended its arm. The trust implicit in that gesture hit Zixara like a physical blow. This being, this human, was choosing to trust her with its life. Despite being surrounded by aliens it had never seen before, despite being trapped and injured, it was allowing her to help. The injection took effect quickly. The human's rigid posture relaxed slightly, and some of the pain lines around its eyes eased. It looked at Zixara and made a sound that could only be gratitude. It's working, she reported to her team. The analgesic is compatible with its biochemistry. I'm going to try basic wound treatment. Doctor, this is highly irregular, protested Commander Hulkton. We have no idea what pathogens this creature might carry. But Zixara was already opening her emergency medical kit. The human watched with obvious interest as she laid out various instruments. When she reached for a dermal regenerator, the creature made an excited sound and pointed at the device, then at its own injuries. You recognize medical equipment? Zixara said wonderingly. Your species has doctors too. The human nodded vigorously and launched into what was clearly an explanation. Though Zixara couldn't understand the words, the gestures were clear enough. The human was trying to tell her about its own medical knowledge, possibly even its own profession. Are you a doctor? She asked, pointing at the human, then at her medical equipment. The creature paused, then made a sound that might have been agreement, but with some qualification. It pointed at itself, then made a series of gestures that seemed to involve four-legged creatures. Then it pointed at Zixara's equipment and nodded. A doctor for animals? Zixara guessed. The human's face lit up with that strange facial expression again. It nodded enthusiastically and repeated several of the sounds it had made, clearly pleased that she understood. This changes everything, Zixara said into her comm. The human isn't just intelligent, it's a medical professional. It understands what we're trying to do. A medical professional that destroys medical drones, Dr. Mordak pointed out skeptically. But the human seemed to understand the concern. It made a series of gestures that Zixara interpreted as explaining its earlier actions. The being had been frightened and defensive when the drones approached. It didn't understand what they were or what they intended to do. It was scared, Zixara explained to her team. It reacted defensively because it didn't understand our intentions. Working together, they began to treat the human's injuries. The creature was a surprisingly good patient, holding still when needed and even helping by moving its limbs into better positions for treatment. Its understanding of medical procedures was evident in how it anticipated their needs. As they worked, Zixara noticed something remarkable about the human's healing factor. Its body was responding to treatment far faster than should have been possible. Wounds that should have taken days to close were already showing signs of improvement after just hours. Incredible regenerative capabilities, she murmured, watching the dermal regenerator work on a deep laceration. This species is remarkably resilient. The human seemed to understand her amazement. It pointed at the healing wound. then at itself and made a sound that might have been pride. Then it pointed at her equipment and made grateful noises. Doctor Kellen's voice held a note of wonder. I've been analyzing the human's vocal patterns. I think I'm beginning to decode some basic elements of its language. Excellent, Zixara replied, not taking her eyes off her patient. This being is far more than we initially thought. It's not just intelligent, it's scientifically educated. The humans seemed to sense that they were discussing it. It looked between Zixara and the communication device, then pointed at itself and made questioning sounds. It wants to know what we're saying about it, Zixara realized. She tried to explain using gestures, pointing at the human, then at herself and her team, then making positive sounds. The human seemed to understand that they were impressed with it. What happened next would be talked about in medical circles for years to come. The human, despite its injuries and the language barrier, began attempting to communicate detailed medical information about its own species. Using a combination of gestures, drawing scratched into the floor with a piece of debris and carefully modulated sounds, it began teaching them about human physiology. This is unprecedented, breathed Dr. Kellen. The creature is giving us a medical lecture. Not a creature, Zixara corrected softly, watching the human's earnest attempts to bridge the communication gap. A colleague. Word spread through Kepler Station like wildfire. The terrifying apex predator that had sent security teams scrambling was actually a doctor, not just any doctor, but one who specialized in treating animals. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. They'd been afraid of a being whose life was dedicated to healing. Dr. Sarah Chen, as they eventually learned the human's name had been surprisingly patient with their fumbling attempts at communication. Using her tablet, which had survived the crash, she'd managed to show them images and videos that revolutionized their understanding of human civilization. Look at this, Dr. Kellen said, his voice filled with awe as he studied the tablet's contents. Their medical technology is incredibly advanced, but in completely different ways than ours. The images showed human doctors performing surgeries that would be impossible for most galactic species. The precision required, the steady hands, the ability to work in tiny spaces. It was exactly what you'd expect from an apex predator species that had evolved to hunt. But they were using those same deadly skills to save lives. Their entire approach to medicine is fascinating, Zixara observed, watching a video of Sarah performing surgery on something called a horse. They don't rely on energy fields or biomanipulation like we do. They use their natural dexterity and incredible focus. Sarah seemed pleased by their interest in her work. Despite still being in recovery, she'd insisted on showing them more about veterinary medicine. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and even the station's security chief had started asking questions about how humans treated their animals. The breakthrough in communication came when Dr. Kellen managed to establish a basic translation protocol using Sarah's tablet and the station's computers. The first translated conversation would go down in galactic history. "Hello," came the synthesized voice from Sarah's tablet. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen, veterinarian from Earth. Thank you for saving my life." The simple words sent a thrill through everyone present. After days of gestures and guesswork, they could finally talk. "We're honored to meet you, Dr. Chen," Zixara replied, her words being converted into English and displayed on Sarah's screen. "I must apologize for our initial reaction. We were frightened." Sarah's laugh, a sound they'd learned indicated amusement rather than aggression, filled the medical bay. "I understand completely. I probably would have reacted the same way. In my experience, when you encounter an unknown species, it's best to assume they might be dangerous until proven otherwise." "Your experience with unknown species?" Dr. Mordak asked, intrigued. "Well, not alien species," Sarah admitted, "but on Earth I work with animals from all over the planet. Many of them could easily kill me if they wanted to. The key is understanding that most aggressive behavior comes from fear or pain, not malice." This perspective was revolutionary to the galactic medical community. Most species avoided potentially dangerous encounters entirely, using drones and remote procedures whenever possible. The idea of deliberately getting close to dangerous creatures to help them was uniquely human. "You mentioned that you work with many different species on your planet," Zixara said. "Could you tell us more about that?" Sarah's eyes lit up with the passion that all dedicated professionals shared when discussing their work. Earth has incredible biodiversity. I work primarily with large mammals, creatures like horses, cattle, and big cats in zoos. But I've also treated everything from tiny songbirds to massive elephants. She showed them images of Earth's wildlife, and the medical team was astounded. One planet with such an incredible variety of life forms was almost unheard of in the galaxy. This elephant, Dr. Kellen said, staring at an image of Sarah treating a massive gray creature. It's enormous, easily capable of crushing you. Yet you're standing right next to it. Elephants are generally very gentle, Sarah explained. They're incredibly intelligent and emotional. When they're in pain, they understand that you're trying to help them. The key is approaching them calmly and letting them know you're not a threat. The same way you approached us, Zixara realized. Exactly. Whether it's a scared horse or a frightened alien medical team, the principles are the same. Move slowly, project calm energy, and give them space to feel safe. The irony was profound. While the galaxy's finest medical professionals had been paralyzed by fear, Sarah had treated them exactly like any other frightened animals in need of care. She'd used her veterinary training to handle first contact with an alien species. "Tell us about your ship," Commander Hulkton requested. "What brought you so far from Earth?" Sarah's expression grew sad. "I was part of a humanitarian mission. There was a colony ship full of refugees. Not humans, actually. They were called the Cathani. Their world had been destroyed in some kind of natural disaster. The name meant nothing to the galactic databases, but Sarah's tablet contained detailed records of her mission. The Cathani are a peaceful species, mostly herbivorous. Their technology was damaged during their evacuation, and many of their livestock were sick. My government sent me to help. Apparently, taking care of alien animals isn't too different from treating Earth animals." "What happened to them?" Zixara asked gently. "Pirates," Sarah said simply. "We were attacked 3 systems back. The Cathani ship was destroyed. I was in my medical shuttle when it happened, treating some of their breeding stock. My ship was damaged in the attack, but I managed to escape." The medical team exchanged glances. Pirate attacks in this sector weren't uncommon, but the casual way Sarah described the loss of an entire ship full of refugees was heartbreaking. "I'm sorry for your loss," Zixara said. "Thank you. The Cathani were good people. Their animals were beautiful. Something like a cross between your largest herbivores and Earth's deer. Very intelligent, very social." Sarah's voice carried the weight of professional and personal loss. "You risked your life to help a species you'd never encountered before," Dr. Morduck observed. "That's what doctors do," Sarah said simply. "Doesn't matter if the patient has fur, scales, tentacles, or something I've never seen before. If they're suffering, you help them." This philosophy was starting to resonate with the medical team. They'd spent their careers treating only their own species or close galactic neighbors. The idea of providing medical care to completely unknown life forms was both terrifying and inspiring. "Dr. Chen," Zixara said carefully, "would you be willing to share some of your knowledge with us? Your approach to treating unknown species could revolutionize galactic medicine." Sarah's smile was radiant. "I'd be honored, but I have one condition." "Name it." "When my ship is repaired, I want to continue the mission. There might be other Cathani survivors out there, and their animals will need care. I could use some help from people who understand alien biology." The request sparked immediate discussion among the medical team. A joint mission with a human doctor? The medical discoveries alone would be invaluable. And Sarah's approach to handling dangerous or unknown species could save countless lives. "We'll need approval from the medical corps," Zixara said. "But I think I can safely say you'll have all the help you need." As if summoned by their conversation, an alert chimed on the station's communication system. Commander Hulkton's expression grew troubled as he read the incoming message. "Dr. Chen," he said slowly, "we're receiving a distress signal. There's been an incident at a mining colony 2 systems over, something about dangerous creatures that have killed several colonists. The local authorities are requesting immediate assistance." Sarah was already reaching for her medical kit, despite still being in recovery. Dangerous creatures attacking colonists? That sounds like animals driven to aggression by fear or illness. "We should go, we?" Dr. Morduck asked. "You said you wanted to learn my methods," Sarah pointed out. "Here's your chance. But I warn you, if these are frightened animals, getting close enough to help them is going to require courage." Zixara felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with terror. She was about to embark on the most dangerous medical mission of her career, guided by a human veterinarian who treated apex predators like frightened pets. What could possibly go wrong? The mining colony of Zarian 7 was a testament to galactic engineering. Vast extractors pulling precious metals from the planet's core, while colonists lived in comfortable domed cities above. At least it had been comfortable until 3 days ago when something went horribly wrong. 18 dead, 47 injured. Commander Vector of the Colonial Security Forces briefed them as the healing light settled onto the landing pad. The creatures appeared overnight. We've never seen anything like them. Through the shuttle's viewport, Zixara could see the aftermath of whatever had happened. Buildings were damaged, emergency barriers had been erected around entire sections of the colony, and security patrols moved in heavily armed groups. "Tell us about these creatures," Sarah said, her translator converting her words for the commander. Even after just a few days, her grasp of galactic common was improving rapidly. Massive beasts, roughly 4 meters long, covered in natural armor plating. They move incredibly fast despite their size, and their claws can cut through reinforced steel. We've tried everything. Energy weapons, sonic deterrents, even military-grade sedatives. Nothing works. Sarah frowned as she studied the security footage on her tablet. The creatures were indeed formidable. 8-legged, heavily armored, with what appeared to be natural weapons on their limbs. But something about their behavior troubled her. "Have you tried to determine where they came from?" she asked. "The mining tunnels, obviously. We must have disturbed a nest or breeding ground. The extraction crews probably woke them up." But Sarah was shaking her head. "Look at their movement patterns. They're not attacking randomly. They're following specific routes. And see here?" She pointed to a section of footage where one of the creatures had stopped in front of a damaged water main. "It's drinking. So?" Commander Vector asked. "Predators don't stop to drink in the middle of a hunt," Sarah explained. "These creatures aren't attacking your people. They're looking for something. Water, food, or..." She paused, studying the footage more carefully. "Are any of your colonists missing?" "Missing? What do you mean?" "Not dead, missing. People who were there one day and gone the next with no bodies found." Commander Vector's expression grew troubled. "Well, yes. 3 miners from the deep shafts. We assumed the creatures had consumed them." Sarah's eyes widened. "Commander, I don't think these creatures are trying to hurt your people. I think they're trying to save them." The suggestion was met with stunned silence. The idea that the massive armored beasts terrorizing the colony might actually be trying to help was beyond comprehension for most galactic species. "Dr. Chen," Dr. Mordak said carefully, "these creatures have killed 18 colonists." "Have they?" Sarah asked, pulling up the casualty reports. "Or did 18 colonists die during encounters with these creatures?" "There's a difference." She began analyzing the incident reports with the methodical precision that made her such an effective veterinarian. Each case was examined, each injury pattern studied. "Look at this," she said, highlighting sections of the medical reports. "These aren't claw marks from attacks, they're surgical incisions. Precise, calculated cuts designed to remove something. And here, this colonist survived but reported being examined by one of the creatures before it left." "Examined how?" Zixara asked, though she was beginning to suspect where Sarah's logic was leading. "The creature used some kind of natural sensor, probably bioelectrical, to scan his body. Then it made a small incision, removed something, and sealed the wound before leaving." The medical team exchanged glances. It sounded impossible, but Sarah's track record for understanding animal behavior was already proven. "You're suggesting these creatures are performing medical procedures?" Commander Vector asked skeptically. "I'm suggesting they're trying to help in the only way they know how." "Commander, what kind of mining are you doing here? What are you extracting?" "Rare earth elements primarily. Some radioactive materials for power cores. Nothing dangerous with proper shielding." "Radioactive materials," Sarah repeated. "And you're missing miners? They worked in the deep shafts near the radioactive deposits?" "Yes, but we have safety protocols. Full protective gear, regular health screenings." "When was their last health screening?" Commander Vector checked his records. "About 2 months ago. We're a small operation, and the medical supply ship was delayed." Sarah closed her eyes, pieces of the puzzle falling into place. "Your miners have radiation poisoning. The creatures detected it and are trying to remove the contaminated tissue before it kills them." The silence that followed was profound. The idea that alien creatures might have better medical diagnostic capabilities than their own scanners was deeply unsettling. That's impossible, Dr. Mordak protested. Our medical technology would have detected radiation poisoning. Would it? Sarah asked. When was the last time your scanners were calibrated for the specific isotopes being mined here? The uncomfortable silence gave her the answer. I need to see one of these creatures, Sarah announced. If I'm right, they're not monsters, they're doctors. And they're probably just as frustrated with the communication barrier as we were. Absolutely not, Commander Vektar said firmly. Those creatures are extremely dangerous. So are frightened horses, Sarah replied calmly. So are injured elephants and confused tigers and every other animal I've ever treated. The key is approaching them correctly. Over the next hour, Sarah laid out her plan with the same methodical care she brought to treating Earth animals. The approach would be slow, non-threatening, and designed to communicate peaceful intentions to creatures that might be intelligent enough to understand. You're asking us to walk into a den of apex predators, Zixara said, though there was more excitement than fear in her voice. I'm asking you to walk into a makeshift medical facility run by doctors who don't speak our language, Sarah corrected. There's a difference. The first test came when they entered the sealed-off section of the colony. The damage was extensive, but as Sarah had predicted, it followed specific patterns. The creatures had torn through walls and barriers, but only those blocking access to areas where colonists had been detected. There, Sarah whispered, pointing down a corridor where a massive armored form lay curled in what had once been a supply closet. It's resting but not sleeping. See how its sensory organs are still active? The creature was even more impressive up close. Its natural armor gleamed like polished metal, and bioluminescent patterns along its sides pulsed with a slow, rhythmic light that reminded Zixara of a heartbeat monitor. It's beautiful, she breathed. Most apex predators are. Sarah agreed. Now watch this. She took a step forward, moving with the same calm deliberation she'd shown during first contact on Kepler Station. The creature's head turned toward them immediately, and its bioluminescent patterns shifted to a faster, more alert rhythm. Sarah stopped moving and simply stood there, projecting the same peaceful energy that had worked so well with the medical team. After several tense minutes, the creature made a sound, a complex harmonic tone that seemed to come from multiple vocal chambers. It's scanning us, Sarah realized. Some kind of bioelectrical field. It's checking our health. The scan lasted nearly a minute, then the creature's patterns shifted again. The rapid, alert pulsing changed to something slower, more relaxed. We passed the medical exam, Sarah said with a grin. It's determined that we're healthy and not in immediate danger. How do you know that? Dr. Kellen asked. Same way I know when a horse decides I'm not a threat. Body language, energy patterns, and a lot of experience reading animal behavior. The creature rose to its full height, nearly 4 meters tall, and took a step toward them. Every instinct screamed at the medical team to run, but Sarah remained perfectly still. Easy, she said softly, not to the creature, but to her companions. It's just curious. What happened next would be replayed in medical schools across the galaxy for generations. The massive armored creature gently extended one of its limbs toward Sarah, and she equally gently reached out to touch it. The moment of contact sent visible energy patterns racing along the creature's bioluminescent displays. It made another harmonic sound, different from the first, and Sarah nodded as if she understood. It wants to show us something, she announced. I think it wants to show us the missing miners. Following an armored alien creature through the depths of a mining colony went against every safety protocol in the Galactic Medical Handbook. Yet here they were, descending deeper into Zerion 7's tunnels, guided by a being that Sarah insisted was trying to help. The creature moved with surprising grace for something so massive, its bioluminescent patterns providing the only light in the darkened corridors. Occasionally it would pause and emit those harmonic tones, and other creatures would answer from the darkness ahead. There are more of them, Dr. Kellen observed nervously. Of course there are, Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the obvious danger. You don't perform complex medical procedures alone. They're working as a team. The tunnel opened into a vast natural cavern that the mining operations had exposed. But what they found there defied every expectation. The cavern had been transformed into something that could only be described as a medical facility. Bioluminescent growths had been cultivated along the walls, providing steady, even lighting. Strange organic structures that pulsed with life served as what appeared to be medical equipment. And in the center of it all, 3 human colonists lay unconscious but clearly alive on what could only be described as operating tables made of living crystal. My God, Zixara breathed. They've built a hospital. 6 more of the armored creatures moved through the space with the practiced efficiency of a surgical team. Some tended to the unconscious miners while others maintained the organic equipment. All of them stopped what they were doing when the newcomers entered. "Easy, everyone," Sarah said, though whether she was addressing her companions or the alien medical team wasn't clear. "We're all doctors here." The largest of the creatures approached them, and Sarah noticed that its bioluminescent patterns were different from the others, more complex, with additional colors. A chief of medicine, perhaps, or simply the most experienced practitioner. When it began its bioelectrical scan, Sarah stood perfectly still and allowed it. The scan was more thorough this time, and she could feel the creature's energy field examining not just her health but her intentions. Apparently satisfied, the creature moved to a section of the cavern wall where symbols had been carved into the rock. The patterns were intricate, mathematical, and unmistakably medical in nature. "It's trying to show us their diagnosis," Sarah realized. "Those symbols, they're describing the condition of the miners." Dr. Mordak approached the wall carefully, studying the alien medical notation. "If Dr. Chen is correct about these being medical records, then this is extraordinary. Look at the detail, the precision of these calculations." The lead creature seemed to understand their interest. It moved to another section of wall and began carving new symbols, this time describing the treatment they were providing. "Radiation poisoning," Sarah translated, working out the alien medical notation with growing excitement. "Severe contamination in the bloodstream and soft tissues. They're using some kind of biofiltration process to cleanse the contaminated cells." "Biofiltration?" Zixara asked. "Look at those organic structures. They're not just equipment. They're living filters designed to process contaminated biological material and return healthy tissue to the patients." The implications were staggering. These creatures had developed medical technology that was completely biological, using living organisms as surgical and diagnostic tools. It was unlike anything in the galactic medical database. One of the smaller creatures approached Dr. Kellen and began its own harmonic communication. The xenobiologist stood frozen as the creature's scanning field washed over him, then made excited sounds as it detected something. "It's found something," Sarah said, watching the creature's reaction. "Dr. Kellen, have you been experiencing any unusual symptoms lately? Fatigue, nausea, difficulty concentrating?" "Well, yes, but I assumed it was just stress from the mission." "You've been exposed to the same radiation that affected the miners," Sarah concluded. "Probably during your initial scans of the contaminated areas. These creatures can detect it at levels far below our instrument's sensitivity." The small creature was already preparing what appeared to be a treatment, secreting some kind of bioluminescent fluid from specialized glands. When it offered the substance to Dr. Kellen, he looked to Sarah uncertainly. "It's medicine," she said confidently. "They wouldn't have gone to all this trouble to hurt us, Dr. Kellen. You're looking at the most advanced radiation treatment in the galaxy." Taking the offered substance required an act of faith that went against every safety protocol, but Dr. Kellen had seen enough to trust Sarah's judgment. The bioluminescent fluid tasted surprisingly pleasant, with a mineral tang that reminded him of natural spring water. Within minutes, the fatigue that had been plaguing him for weeks began to lift. His thinking became clearer, and the low-level nausea that he'd attributed to stress disappeared entirely. "Incredible," he whispered. "I feel better than I have in months." The lead creature made satisfied harmonic sounds and returned to its wall carvings, adding new symbols that seemed to indicate successful treatment of a 4th patient. "They're keeping medical records," Zixara observed. "Just like we do." "More than that," Sarah said, studying the growing collection of symbols. "They're documenting their techniques for future reference. This is a teaching hospital." The realization hit them all at once. These creatures weren't just treating the immediate crisis. They were studying it, learning from it, and developing new treatments that could be applied to future cases. "Dr. Chen," Dr. Mordak said slowly, "I think we need to reconsider our entire approach to xenobiology. These creatures have medical knowledge that surpasses our own in some areas. And we have knowledge that could help them, Sarah replied. Look at their patients. They're stable, but the recovery is slow. Our medical technology could accelerate the healing process. What followed was the most unusual medical consultation in galactic history, using a combination of carved symbols, bioelectrical communication, and Sarah's uncanny ability to interpret alien behavior. The two medical teams began sharing knowledge. The alien doctors were fascinated by the concept of synthetic medications and energy-based healing techniques. In return, they demonstrated their biofiltration methods and showed how living organisms could be cultivated to serve specific medical functions. This is revolutionary, Zixara said, as she watched one of the creatures demonstrate how the crystal operating tables could monitor and adjust patient vital signs in real time. We could transform galactic medicine with this knowledge. Not we, Sarah corrected gently. Us. All of us working together. The lead creature seemed to understand the spirit of cooperation that was developing. It approached the wall one final time and began carving an elaborate new symbol. Not medical notation this time, but something more abstract when it finished. The symbol clearly depicted multiple species working together, their different abilities combining to achieve something greater than any could accomplish alone. I think, Sarah said with wonder, we've just been invited to join the first interspecies medical alliance in galactic history. The three human miners were already showing signs of recovery, their color returning as the alien biofilters continued their work. Dr. Kellen was feeling healthier than he had in months, and most importantly, a bridge had been built between two completely different approaches to medicine. But as they prepared to return to the surface with news of their discovery, none of them could imagine how this alliance would be tested in the days to come, because somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the pirates who had attacked Sarah's original mission were tracking the rescue ships, drawn by reports of valuable medical technology. And unlike the alien doctors or the frightened colonists, the pirates had no interest in healing anything at all. The attack came without warning, just as the combined medical teams were celebrating their breakthrough. Plasma fire lit up the night sky above Xerion 7 as three pirate vessels descended on the colony, their weapons already charging for another salvo. All personnel to emergency stations, Commander Vektar's voice echoed through the colony's communication systems. We are under attack by unknown vessels, but Sarah knew exactly who was attacking them. Through the medical bay's reinforced windows, she could see the distinctive hull markings of the Crimson Brotherhood, the same pirates who had destroyed the Cathani refugee ship. They followed us here, she said grimly, watching the lead pirate ship's scan beam sweep across the colony. They're looking for something specific, the medical technology, Zixara realized. Our breakthrough with the alien doctors, it's exactly the kind of discovery that pirates would kill for. The healing light was already launching, but the medical vessel was no match for dedicated warships. Its defensive shields flared under the pirate assault, and Sarah could see that it wouldn't last long. We need to get to the cavern, she announced. The alien doctors and their patients are completely defenseless. Dr. Chen, that's suicide, Dr. Mordak protested. Those tunnels will be a death trap if the pirates break through. But Sarah was already gathering medical supplies, her movements quick and efficient despite the chaos around them. Those creatures saved Dr. Kellen's life and the lives of those miners. I'm not abandoning them to pirates. The first explosion shook the entire colony as the pirates breached the main defensive perimeter. Through the communication system, they could hear security teams reporting heavy casualties and requesting immediate medical assistance. Doctor? Commander Vektar's voice was strained. We need medical teams at the main entrance. Multiple casualties, critical condition. Take half the team, Sarah told Zixara. I'll go to the cavern with the others. I'm coming with you, Zixara said firmly. Those alien doctors taught me more about medicine in one day than I learned in a year of formal training. I won't abandon them either. The journey through the tunnels was a nightmare of collapsing passages and emergency lighting. Above them, the sounds of battle grew closer as the pirates fought their way deeper into the colony. But when they reached the cavern, they found something unexpected. The alien doctors had not fled. Instead, they had organized themselves into what could only be described as a medical triage unit. The three human miners had been moved to a secure section of the cavern, while the creatures themselves were preparing to treat expected casualties. They're setting up a field hospital, Dr. Kellen observed with amazement. They know there's going to be a battle and they're preparing to treat the wounded. The lead creature approached them with urgent harmonic communications, its bioluminescent patterns flashing in rapid, agitated sequences. Sarah couldn't understand the specific meaning, but the intent was clear. The alien doctors wanted to help. They want to know how they can assist with treating the colonists, she translated. They're offering their medical expertise to help with the battle casualties. The offer was both touching and practical. The alien biofiltration technology could treat injuries that would overwhelm conventional medical facilities. But getting wounded colonists down to the cavern during a battle would be nearly impossible. That's when Sarah had an idea that was either brilliant or completely insane. What if we bring the hospital to them? She suggested. These creatures are mobile. Their medical technology is biological, portable. They could set up treatment stations throughout the colony. Dr. Chen, Dr. Mordak said carefully, you're suggesting that we deploy unknown alien creatures into active combat zones to provide medical assistance. I'm suggesting that we deploy the most advanced medical team in the galaxy to save lives, Sarah corrected. The fact that they happen to be armored apex predators is just a bonus. The lead creature seemed to understand the discussion. It moved to its wall symbols and quickly carved new notations: tactical medical deployment patterns, casualty assessment protocols, and what appeared to be combat medical procedures. They know battlefield medicine, Zixara breathed. This isn't their first war. The alien medical team moved with military precision as they prepared for deployment. Some creatures gathered portable bioluminescent lighting systems, while others collected samples of various medical organisms. The largest specimens positioned themselves as escorts, their natural armor and size making them ideal for protecting medical personnel in dangerous areas. How do we coordinate this? Dr. Kellen asked. The security forces will think they're being attacked by the same creatures that terrorize the colony. Sarah was already working on that problem, using her tablet to contact Commander Vektar directly. Commander, this is Dr. Chen. I'm about to send you some very unusual medical assistance. Doctor, we don't have time for... You have 6 armored medical specialists incoming. They're friendly, they're here to help, and they're probably the only thing standing between your wounded and death. Don't shoot them. The first deployment was to the main defensive perimeter, where the heaviest fighting was taking place. 3 of the alien doctors emerged from the tunnels just as a pirate assault team breached the barricades, and the scene that followed would be talked about for decades. The security force's initial reaction was exactly what Sarah had expected: panic, confusion, and several attempts to shoot the approaching creatures. But the aliens' behavior was so obviously medical that even the most frightened colonist couldn't mistake their intentions. One of the creatures immediately moved to a wounded security officer, its bioelectrical scanners assessing the man's injuries, while its companions began setting up a treatment area with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, they had established a fully functional field hospital in the middle of a war zone. Unbelievable, Commander Vektar's voice came through the communication system. The creatures they're saving lives. Private Jackson was dying from plasma burns, and now his wounds are already healing. The pirates, meanwhile, were having their own difficulties with the unexpected medical intervention. Several of their wounded had been captured and were receiving treatment alongside the colonists. The alien doctors made no distinction between friend and enemy. Anyone who was injured received immediate medical attention. They're treating everyone, Dr. Mordak observed, monitoring the situation from the command center. They don't care which side people are fighting for. That's what doctors do, Sarah replied simply. We treat the patient in front of us. The pirate assault began to falter as their wounded were systematically healed and often chose not to rejoin the fighting. The alien medical technology was so advanced that injuries that should have been permanently disabling were healing within hours. But the real game changer came when the lead pirate ship landed and its captain emerged. To assess the situation personally, Captain Razak of the Crimson Brotherhood was a veteran of dozens of raids, but he'd never encountered anything like the alien medical team. What are those things? He demanded of one of his subordinates. Doctors, sir. They've been treating our wounded alongside the colonists. Mark says his leg is completely healed, the one he lost in that reactor accident 6 months ago. Captain Razak stared at the scene before him. His raiders were being systematically healed of old injuries, combat wounds, and chronic conditions they'd carried for years. Several had already approached the alien doctors asking for treatment of non-combat medical issues. "Sir," his lieutenant said hesitantly, "the men are asking if we can negotiate with these creatures. Some of them have medical conditions that conventional treatment can't help." For the first time in his criminal career, Captain Razak was faced with something more valuable than anything he could steal: the promise of health, healing, and freedom from the chronic pain that plagued most career criminals. "Stand down," he ordered quietly. "All units, cease fire and stand down." The battle for Zerion 7 ended not with victory or defeat, but with the most unusual medical conference in galactic history, as pirates, colonists, and alien doctors worked together to heal everyone who needed it. And in the center of it all, Sarah Chen coordinated the treatment with the calm efficiency of someone who had always known that medicine transcended species, politics, and even the law itself. 6 months later, the Zerion Medical Exchange had become the most famous hospital in the galaxy. What had started as a mining colony was now a thriving center for interspecies medical research, where beings from across the known worlds came to experience the revolutionary treatments developed by the Human-Alien Medical Alliance. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the main medical facility, watching the latest group of patients receive treatment in the bioluminescent chambers below. A Veltar crystalline being was having its fractured matrix repaired by alien biofilters, while a gaseous Nebulon received treatment for what conventional medicine had deemed an incurable condition. The Galactic Medical Board wants to establish 12 more facilities like this one, Zixara reported, joining Sarah at the observation window. "Every major system is requesting an alien medical team." "And the Kithara?" Sarah asked, using the name they'd finally learned for their alien medical partners. Enthusiastic about the expansion. "Their population is much larger than we initially thought. They have medical teams on hundreds of worlds. They've been working in isolation for millennia, but now—" Zixara gestured at the bustling facility below. "Now they're part of something bigger." The integration hadn't been without challenges. The Kithara medical philosophy was radically different from galactic standard practices. They treated diseases as imbalances in the patient's entire ecosystem, often prescribing changes to environment, diet, and even social relationships alongside their biotechnological treatments. "Dr. Chen," came a familiar voice from behind them. Captain Razak, former pirate and current administrator of the facility's security division, approached with his daily report. "The morning patient roster is ready for your review." The transformation of the Crimson Brotherhood had been one of the most unexpected developments. After experiencing Kithara medical treatment firsthand, most of the pirates had chosen to abandon their criminal careers. Some had joined the colony's security force, others had trained as medical assistants, and a few had even qualified as full medical technicians. "How's the new batch of refugees settling in?" Sarah asked, reviewing the patient list. "Better than expected. The Zephyrian refugees from the border conflicts are responding well to the integrated treatment protocols, and the Kithara have expressed particular interest in their unique physiology. The facility now served not just as a hospital but as a refuge for beings displaced by conflicts throughout the galaxy. The combination of advanced medical care and the colony's remote location made it an ideal sanctuary for those who had nowhere else to go. "There's something else," Razak added, his expression growing serious. "We've received a communication from the Galactic Council. They want to send an official delegation to evaluate the facility." Sarah and Zixara exchanged glances. The Galactic Council's involvement could be either beneficial or disastrous, depending on their intentions. "What kind of evaluation?" Zixara asked. "They're calling it a comprehensive assessment of non-traditional medical practices and their potential security implications," Razak quoted. "In other words, they're nervous about alien medical technology being distributed across the galaxy." The concern was understandable. The Kithara biomedical technology was revolutionary, but it was also largely incomprehensible to conventional science. The idea of living medical equipment that could adapt and evolve was deeply unsettling to regulatory bureaucrats. "When do they arrive?" Sarah asked. 3 days. Full diplomatic entourage, plus medical evaluators, security assessors, and what appears to be a xenobiology team. As if summoned by their conversation about bureaucratic challenges, Dr. Kellen burst into the observation deck with obvious excitement. "Sarah, "You need to see this," he said, practically vibrating with enthusiasm. The Kithera have made another breakthrough. They followed him to the research section of the facility, where several Kithera medical specialists were working with conventional galactic medical equipment. The collaboration had produced some remarkable innovations, but what Dr. Kellen showed them was beyond anything they'd achieved before. They figured out how to integrate their biotechnology with our energy-based systems, he explained, gesturing at a treatment chamber that seemed to combine living Kithera organisms with conventional medical scanners and healing fields. The possibilities are endless. We could treat conditions that neither of our medical traditions could handle alone. Neural disorders, genetic conditions, even aging itself might be reversible. The demonstration patient was an elderly Altarian merchant who had volunteered for the experimental treatment. His advanced age had left him frail and barely mobile, but after just one session in the hybrid treatment chamber, he was already showing signs of renewed vitality. Incredible, Zixara breathed. But the Galactic Council is going to be terrified of this. Why? Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Because this isn't just medicine anymore, Zixara replied. This is enhancement. If the Kithera can reverse aging, cure genetic disorders, and treat previously incurable conditions, they're not just healing people, they're improving them. The implications were staggering. The technology could eliminate disease, extend lifespans, and potentially enhance physical and mental capabilities beyond natural limits. It was exactly the kind of advancement that would either revolutionize galactic civilization or tear it apart. We need to be very careful how we present this to the Council delegation, Sarah said thoughtfully. The last thing we want is for them to decide this technology is too dangerous to allow. Agreed, Razak added. I've seen enough bureaucrats to know that they're more afraid of change than they are of problems. If they think this technology threatens the established order, his concern proved prescient. The Galactic Council delegation arrived exactly on schedule, and their reaction to the Xerion medical exchange was everything Sarah had feared it would be. Counselor Velnara, the delegation's leader, spent exactly 30 minutes touring the facility before declaring it a clear violation of established medical protocols and a potential threat to galactic stability. This collaboration with unknown alien entities represents an unacceptable risk, she announced during the formal evaluation session. We cannot allow unregulated medical technology to spread throughout civilized space. With respect, Counselor, Sarah replied. This technology has saved thousands of lives and cured conditions that conventional medicine couldn't touch. That's precisely the problem, Velnara responded. Medical technology that surpasses our understanding is inherently dangerous. We have no way to control it, no way to regulate it, and no way to ensure it won't be misused. The debate that followed was heated and public, broadcast across the galaxy as different species took sides on the question of medical advancement versus regulatory control. Some praised the revolutionary treatments and called for immediate expansion of the program. Others demanded strict oversight and limited access to the technology. In the end, it was the patients themselves who provided the most compelling argument. Beings who had been dying, suffering, or disabled spoke passionately about their recovery and the hope that the treatments represented. But it was the Kithera's own response that ultimately swayed the decision. The lead Kithera medical specialist approached the council delegation with a proposal that no one had expected. Through careful translation, the alien doctor offered to teach the council's medical experts their techniques, to share their knowledge openly and completely. They requested only that the treatments continue to be provided to anyone who needed them, regardless of species, politics, or ability to pay. You're willing to give away technology that's worth more than entire star systems? Counselor Velnara asked in amazement. The Kithera's response, when translated, was simple. We are doctors. This is what doctors do. The vote wasn't even close. The Galactic Council unanimously approved the expansion of the Xerion Medical Exchange Program, establishing it as the galaxy's first officially recognized interspecies medical collaboration. As the delegation prepared to leave, Sarah found herself standing once again at the observation deck, watching the bustling activity below. Kithera doctors worked alongside galactic medical specialists, treating patients from dozens of different species. Former pirates provided security and assistance. Refugees who had arrived as patients were now training as medical technicians. So what's next? Zixara asked, joining her at the window. Sarah smiled, watching a young Kithara medical student being taught conventional surgical techniques by Dr. Mordak, while simultaneously demonstrating biofiltration methods to a fascinated galactic medical team. Next, we keep doing what we've always done, she said. We treat the patient in front of us. We heal who we can. And we remember that medicine isn't about technology or regulations or politics. What is it about then? Sarah gestured at the scene below. Beings from across the galaxy working together to heal and help each other. Their differences forgotten in the face of their shared commitment to reducing suffering. It's about scared creatures trying to help other scared creatures, she said simply. Everything else is just details. In the treatment chambers below, the bioluminescent patterns of the Kithara medical equipment pulsed,